The second trailer for Godzilla x Kong: The New Empire has some massive reveals, including confirmation that Godzilla's pink form is not in fact his second form, but the third form that we'll be exploring in this new film. What makes Godzilla in the MonsterVerse so interesting is the continuity over his different forms and his redesign. Over the course of from 2014 to Monarch, we can see significant and substantial changes in the G-Man. As he's exposed to more radiation, one of Godzilla's greatest traits is revealed. That is, the fact that he can absorb different forms of energy, and it makes him substantially stronger. We learned in Monarch that after he was subject to an atomic bomb, he grew stronger, larger, and this is what he looked like in 2014. As the MonsterVerse films have continued, Godzilla has actually grown in size, being the largest we've seen him thus far in Godzilla vs. Kong. In King of the Monsters, he was subject to yet another nuclear explosion that actually healed the King of the Monsters. The grand plan of Dr. Serizawa, one that ultimately saved the entirety of Earth and gave Godzilla enough energy to combat Ghidorah. In the new Godzilla x Kong trailer, we can see that Godzilla is overflowing with energy, as he's clearly absorbed something before he goes into a hibernation state, and absorbs even more so that he can go into a powerful evolution of the pink Godzilla that we see later in the trailers. The new trailer also has dialogue that indicates why Godzilla may have done this, and that one of the G-Man's major goals over the course of the film is to absorb as much energy as possible in an effort to gain power over an ancient rival in Shima, whose the Scar King has now apparently taken control of. The Scar King sharing a blue hue in the eyes that Shimo herself carries, indicating that the Scar King and Shimo have absorbed some of this Hollow Earth energy, and it could be this glow and the crystals that have allowed Scar King to take control over Shimo. But what about Godzilla's second blue pulsing form? Well, we've actually seen something very similar to this in King of the Monsters, where Godzilla entered his thermonuclear form and achieved his most deadly evolution yet, one that made short work of the false King Ghidorah. In King of the Monsters, when Godzilla enters this brand new form, which importantly is a different color, it is revealed that Godzilla enters this form by absorbing the ashes of Mothra. This is because in the MonsterVerse, Godzilla and the Mothra species hold a deep symbiotic relationship which goes far beyond any real-world animals, and a relationship that has been present for tens of millions of years. After Godzilla actually absorbs the energy of a Mothra, he gains two new abilities, that being the Heat Aura and the Nuclear Pulses. The Nuclear Pulses is what eventually takes down King Ghidorah, and we also see something new here with a brand new pulse attack that Godzilla displays in the New Empire, which is very similar to the thermonuclear attack, but it is very different also. What's important about this second scene that we see from Godzilla in the trailer is the weather that surrounds him, as there's lightning striking everywhere, very similar to how King Ghidorah is shrouded by weather in King of the Monsters. It appears as if even Godzilla serves as a sort of conductor and lightning is striking him. He also makes land during a power plant, presumably nuclear, as it's likely that he's searching for food and an ability to prepare for hibernation. As we learn, Godzilla hears the signal in the Hollow Earth and is preparing for the next battle, and is doing so to absorb as much energy as possible, likely in an attempt to defeat Shimo as well as the Scar King. One of the major theories surrounding the film is that Shimo was responsible for the first Ice Age, and that Godzilla, in an attempt to protect nature, is attempting to stop this, with Shimo likely being controlled by Scar King. It is also said in the trailer that the Titans were guardians of nature, so it makes sense why Godzilla would be against Shimo attempting to create a second with her abilities. Or it could be that the Scar King poses another alpha that Godzilla seeks to destroy. What's fascinating about this though, and Godzilla absorbing the lightning and the weather, as well as the power plant, is it shows us just the nature of Godzilla's absorbing energy ability, showing us that he can absorb and use energy that isn't exactly nuclear. One of the major theories that proposes Shimo as a great threat is it's likely that she's been absorbing the energy of the Hollow Earth for potentially millions of years while lying dormant. Since we know that many of the Titans fed off of radiation, Godzilla's relationship to it though is very special, and his ability to absorb it is far beyond any of the other titans besides perhaps Shimo. There's a major theory going around that Shimo is actually a distant relative of the Gojira species, as they share similar spikes and even have very similar designs. It is Shimo's extended time in the Hollow Earth though, and her access to the dangerous energy that was enough to power up Mechagodzilla, when the rest of the energy on the surface world was not enough to power up Mechagodzilla, that makes her such a legitimate threat against the king of the monsters, and forces Godzilla to first seek out any means of absorbing radiation and energy on the surface world that likely proves to be not enough, causing him to venture underground and absorbing more energy likely from the Hollow Earth, just like Shimo. This would mean that Shimo is a power level unlike anything we've ever seen from any titan before, especially after we saw the results of Godzilla's nuclear pulse in King of the Monsters, as it managed to disintegrate Ghidorah in just a few hits. This is even more impressive as we know that Ghidorah has an ability to regenerate if he loses any of his heads, and Godzilla had to completely destroy all of the heads to ensure that the false king did not fully regenerate. As to exactly how much more powerful this pink version of Godzilla is yet to be seen. But what's clear is that the power of this electric energy pulse, although similar from the thermal attack, is something different, and shows that Godzilla is overflowing with energy. And yet, even this does not satisfy the king of the monsters and prepare him for battle fully. Something else we've noticed over the course of 2 trailers is that the pink Godzilla appears to be hyper aggressive. We know previously that Godzilla only attacks humanity when he has good reason to. Previously, it was because they were rebuilding Mechagodzilla, and Godzilla sensed his ancient enemy in Ghidorah being reborn. This high amount of energy likely causes a more on edge Godzilla and perhaps an even more primal form, as we see for a brief moment as it appears as if Godzilla uses his pink atomic breath close to Kong. This Godzilla is in full attack mode and is ready to take down any threat that presents itself to the future of nature, caring little for mankind. As we learn, of course, that was the role of the Kongs, as the king of the monster himself cares very little for humanity in contrast to the society that the Kongs built. Godzilla is only interested in the order of the planet, whether that involves humans or not. In a recent interview, Adam Wingard also outright confirmed exactly why Godzilla is attempting to level up, stating this: "This is Godzilla's version of a training routine. I'm a really big fan of the Shaw Brothers martial arts. Those films are always about, here's a big threat, and you have to do all these things to pump yourself up so that you can take on that threat. You're gonna see lots of different versions of Godzilla in this movie." End quote. So here you have it. Godzilla is attempting to amplify his power so that he can compete with Shimo and likely the combined might of the Scar King. But it will take Godzilla and Kong together to take out this new threat, preserving humanity and nature as a result. But anyway, my friends, what are your thoughts on Godzilla, his new abilities, and how he's attempting to amplify his power to take on this threat? Are you even more pumped for the release of Godzilla x Kong? And as a big question for the end of the video, do you think it's possible that the pink form of Godzilla is not his last? Thank you so much for watching, my friends. Hit that subscribe button, and I'll hopefully see you in another video.